Connie has served, and Ed has served our chapter for a number of years, and like a long time. So I'm going to give you the microphone. I'd like you to tell them a little bit about what it was like when the chapter first started, and then like your career a little bit, and like what it's like today with our chapter. So would you mind sharing a few words of wisdom and a few thoughts and a little bit? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I love you, and I want everybody to know about your career path, okay?
Okay. Gee, I would have prepared if I had known he was going to do this to me. Well, I've been in real estate since 1978, and I started in Vancouver, Washington. I was very active in the Washington Association of Realtors. I was president of the Vancouver Association of Realtors and then became president of the Washington Association of Realtors after a few years, and was very active in the National Association of Realtors for many years. Was a regional vice president there and chaired a number of committees. When I moved up to the Seattle area, I became more involved in the CCIM chapter because it wasn't quite as long a drive for me to be involved in this area. It was a long drive when I was in Vancouver, and they didn't have the Oregon Southwest chapter at that time. So I became involved in the CCIM chapter. When I did, the board was meeting at the Carpenters Building, I believe. Yeah. And we were really searching for people to serve on the board, which is not the case today. We have a lot of people today that step up, want to serve on the board, want to serve on committees. So it has really grown into a very active board today. I've served as the president of the chapter and as a regional vice president for the Institute, representing the Northwest states, and have served as a director on the National CCIM Institute Board of Directors, as well as have chaired some committees there. So it's been fun. I have been focusing on retail investment and retail leasing, and that's my specialty, and love the business, but I'm moving on to the next chapter of my life. I travel the country.
Okay, now stay with me here for a minute. And so for me, I got involved in CCIM later in life in about 2007. And where I got involved in the chapter and I got involved with my core courses, and here comes Connie. And she says, hey, have we got to get you involved? And Connie reached out to me, and Connie supported me and coached me and helped me and said, you got to get involved in this effort with me. And I said, no problem. And so here I am. And so that's all because of Connie. Thanks, Connie. That's all because of Connie. But how beautiful, and how many people whose lives you have affected and helped and have been expressed so much kindness to. So we really appreciate you. Now, there's more. So I would like to invite up Anthony Tony Blau. And Anthony, Dr. Blau, he's the professor of medicine and hematology, adjunct professor of genome sciences for cancer innovation. He's the co-director of the Institute for, if I get any of this wrong, you let me know. He's the co-director of the Institute for Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine at the University of Washington. And we appreciate you being here today. So in Connie's honor, we are going to present you with a check for $1,000 for you in your name. Tony, stay up here with us for a minute now. Don't run away. Get over here. Let's get a little photo op here. Okay. Now there's one last little piece. Fred has something for you. Right over here. And this is a plaque that we are going to have you take with you in remembrance of this day. Yeah, would you?
So it says, presented to Connie Boyle, CCIM, in appreciation of the many years of dedicated service and contributions to the commercial real estate industry by Washington CCIM chapter. A gift to the UW Medicine Center for Cancer Innovation has been made in your honor.
I have a lab that's right in South Lake Union, and working in the, so I see patients still some of the time, but most of my time I spend working in the lab. And what you notice working in the lab over the last few years is how much technology's improved. It's really breathtaking to see how tremendously explosive the improvement in technology's been. And traditionally, I've worked in other areas of research that haven't had much to do with cancer. But about 5 years ago, I went with my wife to a cancer meeting. My wife's a breast cancer oncologist. She's kind of a hardcore, in the trenches, seeing 30 patients a day, breast cancer doctor. She works down in Puyallup. So Sibel started to take me to some of these meetings, cancer meetings, about 5 years ago. And going to one of those meetings, it seemed to me that the way that we're approaching cancer is flawed, that there's a fundamental problem in the way that we approach cancer. And if you were to state the problem concisely, we have this firewall between research, what happens in the research world, and what happens in the clinical care of cancer patients. And this firewall's in place because only things that have been extensively validated and tested in the research side are allowed to cross the wall into taking care of patients with cancer. And the reason for that is you want to have that protection where you only use things that have been very heavily validated before they are used in patients. But what one becomes impressed with is that while we have this protection in place, every day patients are dying of advanced cancer. And that wall, I think, has in some ways become a hindrance to bringing the best that technology can offer to patients with cancer today. So we created this thing called the Center for Cancer Innovation that removes this wall. It fuses research and clinical care in a way that has never been done before. And the idea is, and we're focused on, we focus our efforts. There are about 70 people from a dozen different organizations. The idea is to find patients with advanced cancer who are eager to be the subjects of an unprecedented scientific investigation, the subjects of a mini Manhattan Project, where we biopsy the tumor at multiple sites of the body because we know the tumor changes. Not only is every cancer different between every person, but cancer changes as it evolves, as it spreads within a person. So we biopsy the tumor at multiple sites, collect millions of data points, sequence all the DNA, all the RNA, collect from that individual millions of data points, put it on the cloud, find the best computational biologists in the world to look at this data and try to integrate it into our best understanding of what's going on in that patient and try to find an Achilles heel that we think, a drug that might work to treat that patient's cancer, and test our theory not in a guinea pig, not in a petri dish, but in that human being who is so desperately in need of our best efforts, and then use what happens in that patient's experience to create a learning loop where we'll understand when we're right, we'll understand the many times that we're wrong, and together, in partnership with patients, develop what we think eventually will amount to an instruction manual, a rule book of how cancer works. Patients who are in this program will be heroic contributors to advancing our understanding and treatment of cancer. And I'm happy to report that just within the last 2 weeks, we've enrolled our first 2 patients. We have our initial study is in patients with a type of breast cancer called, it's an aggressive type of breast cancer called triple negative breast cancer. And 2 women have now been enrolled on this study, this protocol. It's an incredibly expensive undertaking, so we're incredibly grateful for for the support that you've given us. It's going to cost us about, the budget for each patient's about $125,000 to do what it takes to really try to get the information. I think this path, which is unlike anything else that I know of going on anywhere else, I think will set us on the course to curing cancer. So thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.